You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. Once again, we are here today, and today, man, we have a powerhouse. We have the one and only Ben Shapiro. He is the editor-in-chief of the Daily Wire and the host of the Ben Shapiro Show. We're going to talk about his amazing book, Lions and Scavengers. First and foremost, sir, how are you doing this morning?
Hey, thanks so much for having me. I appreciate it. Doing well.
Yes, sir. Let's get right into it. When you think about the process of writing this book, when you look at Lions and Scavengers as opposing forces, what made you choose this particular metaphor? And how do you hope that will help the readers see today's cultural battle?
I think that the reason I chose that metaphor is that I was, reading a lot around the time of the October 7th attacks. And then I ended up in London to do debate at Oxford University. And there was a massive, massive pro-Hamas protest that took place at the time, so massive that my security told me I actually couldn't stay in London at all for fear of safety. And I ended up at University of Oxford, one of the great historic institutions of the West, where, again, we had massive safety concerns. It was a very fraught, pretty rough sort of experience. And people outside, in the heart of what had been kind of historic Western civilization, were chanting about the evils of Western civilization. I thought, these are people who want to tear things down. Right? These are people who are really kind of living off the carcass of Western civilization. These folks are scavengers. They are driven by envy. And then I was thinking, again, in sort of historic British terminology about Richard the Lionheart and sort of the image, the herald of lions in British history. And so that's kind of where it came from visually. But I think that imagistic divisions like that are helpful in helping us encapsulate what we're talking about here. So what I'm talking about here when I'm talking about lions are people who are dutiful, people who believe in actual values, people who wish to make their civilization stronger, to build, to innovate. And then scavengers are people who wish to tear all of that down, who see all of the problems in their own lives as a result of the civilization and say the only way to solve their problems is to destroy everything around them.
You also talk about warning that the children of lions can become scavengers if values aren't passed down. What do you hope parents, educators, and institutions must do differently to prevent that to happen?
Well, I think that the biggest thing is that we actually have to be strong about inculcating our values in our kids. I think there are a lot of parents out there who say, well, I'm just going to give my kids the tools to navigate the world, but I can't really give them the values. It's their job to choose their own values. I fundamentally disagree. Your chief job as a parent is to pass down the values that matter, because kids are born innocent, but not necessarily good. Anybody who has kids knows this. And so you actually have to civilize them. You have to make them better people. Part of making them better people is teaching them what is good and what is bad, what is right and what is wrong, and what is worth valuing and what isn't. And being shy about that, sort of throwing your kids to the wolves by never teaching them important values, like why free speech is important, or why private property is important, or freedom of religion, or why equal rule of law is important. Just kind of leaving them out there. You're leaving them as easy prey for people who are going to twist their minds and turn them toward a different perspective. There's no such thing as a true ideological vacuum. So either you're going to pass on the values that matter to your kids or somebody else will.
And you divide them in three parts: hunters, warriors, and reavers. What do you think can be a game plan for those who seriously want to be actual hunters?
I think that if you want to be an innovator, you actually have to be willing to take risk, and that requires actual preparation. So you first have to build a solid groundwork in your own life, a certain level of security where you can afford to take a risk. And then you have to be willing to take risks and to fail, and to understand that failure is predominantly your own fault. So when we launched Daily Wire, we failed at a couple of businesses before that. And everybody that I know who's done extremely well in business failed multiple times before finally hitting on the version that was a success. And so I think that you actually have to train yourself to take risks and to accept that sometimes those risks are going to fail, and then you move on to taking the next risk. And hopefully you're getting better and better at doing this every time you do it. And so every risk taker that I know has failed multiple times before actually hitting on the risk that was worthwhile.
We're talking to the one, Ben Shapiro. My next question is from the moral and duty. You also stress that duty, not desire, defines a meaningful life. How does that idea push back against today's culture?
I mean, I think our entire culture is rooted in the idea that I want something, or I want to be treated a certain way, or I define myself in a certain way. And if you won't give me that thing, you're the villain. And the reality is that's a horrible way to interact with the world. The way you should interact with the world is, here are the things that are on my to-do list today. Here are the things I need to get up and do. And these are duties. They're duties that I owe to myself and that I owe to others and that I owe to my civilization and my community. And if you live your life in that sort of fashion, you're likely to be significantly happier than waiting for the rest of the world to reward you based on the things that you want out of life.
In your closing chapters, you call for the lion to roar again. Without getting too much away, what do you hope that people who read this book will be able to learn from what you're trying to get your message out to?
I think the number one thing that I hope that they learn is that apologizing for your own existence and being shy about your own values is not, in fact, morally superior. It is morally inferior. This sort of idea has fallen on the Lions that if you are so humble that you're willing to subject yourself to the predations of the scavengers, this somehow makes you a better person. And it's precisely the opposite. If you don't stand up and aggressively defend your civilization against people who want to destroy it, you will lose your civilization, and no one will give you moral credit for that.
Lions and Scavengers are out right now. Get the book. Once again, I want to say to Ben Shapiro, man, I know you're busy, man, so thank you for your time.
Thanks so much. Appreciate it.